Hello, and welcome to the Battleship Brawl Companion. I'm Yellow Frizergan, and this episode I'll be reviewing the Handaki by Menti. Apparently, Handaki is the Swahili word for bunker, and this ship really does look like one. Uh, Menti, of course, is the host of the tournament, and also the winner of the first season of the Battleship Brawl. There's a couple special features about this ship which don't really fall neatly into one category. So I'll talk about them at the end. First, before then, I'll talk about the basics. Uh, I've got the engine spooled up here, and we're making about 19 meters per second on average. The front is a sort of a bullet shape, while 4-meter slopes do provide the best drag. Most of it is made of those, and the section in front that isn't made out of those is not going to cost too much drag either. So, using only about 1050 power, this ship is still able to make a probably a slightly above average speed. Let's make a turn. So, this ship is a bit twitchy when it turns. You can see it's somewhere around 9-ish, 8 to 9 degrees per second. Why is it so twitchy? My guess would be it uses a pretty large number of rudders. We've got a bunch in the back, and also in the front we've got a bunch of upside down rudders. Now you see that all these rudders are lined up in a row. You might think that would prevent the front ones from working, but as we see here, the front one is providing full ruddering force. The reason for that is rudders actually don't block each other or propulsion, so in theory you could also put a rudder right behind a propeller and still have it work. So, all in all, a pretty maneuverable ship. Let's see. Next up is armor. Menti has mentioned that he built this ship primarily for armor, and I mean, it really does show. We've got multiple layers, a couple layers of metal on the outside, with heavy armor triangles on the inside to boost the armor class through stacking. And many sections even have additional bulkheads of metal and even more heavy armor triangles. So, I mean, this ship can take quite a beating. The air pumps are well compartmentalized. We've got plenty of sections here. The engines are spread in 2 pairs in different parts of the hull. Repair bots scattered all around. The nose here is more or less empty of critical components, so if it happens to ram into something, it's got a pretty generous crumple zone. So, all in all, an extremely durable and stable ship. The armament consists of 6 primary guns and 6 secondary guns. They are quite well provisioned. We've got, on the main ones, which are further towards the rear, we've got, let's see, 36.5 explosive and 50 hardening. All done in a quite efficient configuration where every pellet or ammo box is fed using 4 autoloaders, which is a very good number to shoot for. The traverse range is actually quite small. only 22.5 elevation and not much azimuth to speak of. This is because Menti has elected to use a relatively low ratio of motor barrels to regular barrels. My suspicion is he did this to make sure all the guns were able to be hidden under this armored top here, while maintaining a high degree of accuracy, since these regular barrels provide more accuracy than these motor barrels. So since the range is limited and the ship is quite stable, this actually isn't too much of a disadvantage. You'll rarely be needing more than 22.5 degrees of elevation anyways. So all these are the same, and then in the front we've got the secondaries, a moderate small gauge pure explosive, a pretty standard choice for secondaries, same firing arc, and same efficient interior. So all in all, a solid armament, perhaps not as heavy as some ships, but this is a defense-focused ship. So that's the basics. Now let's talk about the two, I think, unique features of this ship, which make it one of the more innovative designs in this tournament. The first one is this hexagonal cross-section. Most ships built in from the depths tend to have flat sides, and I mean, don't get me wrong, flat sides do have a couple of obvious advantages. A flat side ship is easier to place internals in because, I mean, after all, that makes it basically a rectangular box. Also, flat sides do minimize length drag for a given amount of volume. The way length drag is calculated is that you look at the top silhouette, the side silhouettes, and the bottom silhouettes. You take the surface area, multiply it by a coefficient depending on whether it's in the water or in the air, and that's your length drag. So a axis aligned, a vertical sided box completely fills out the site, giving the maximum amount of volume for a given amount of length drag. Now that said, this hexagonal cross-section, or similarly if you use a sloped triangular cross-section or a trapezoidal cross-section, does give some advantages to offset the advantages of the flat side design. One of the advantages is lower side and turning drag. When you've got this 45-degree slope on the side, each block is only contributing 0.4 base drag as opposed to a full unit of base drag for a flat side. That will tend to increase the sustained turn rate of your ship. Another advantage is the amount of volume for a given thickness of armor. If we look inside here, we see that any incoming shell is going to have to go through at least 3 blocks before penetrating the outer layer of armor. Whereas if you, let's see, are we about to collide with anything? No, we're good. Whereas if you had a flat-sided ship with 3 layers of armor, you would not be able to enclose as much volume. I think you'd be able to enclose half as much. Yeah, so basically for the number of layers of armor, you're basically getting quite a bit of extra volume for free. If you imagine kind of a square running around the midpoints of the slope sides, that's sort of the square cross section. Looks like we did run around. Or rectangular cross section that you could get for the same cost and armor thickness. Okay. And finally, we've had what many on the forums are calling, I think Menti himself coined this term, this tactical hat. This is a two-layer thing on top. It's made out of metal with a layer of heavy armor triangle corners underneath. So this provides a very nice bunker firing slit look to the ship, making for a very clean look overall. But its main purpose is practical. Now, if this wasn't there and a bunch of shells were raining in, there is a good chance those shells could strike one of the barrels of these turrets, which would be a very bad thing, as I've explained in previous episodes. This hat keeps this from happening. Particularly useful against high explosive spam shells, which don't have the kinetic power or generally the pendev fuses needed to penetrate such an armored hat. Such shells will simply fly in and detonate on this hat and not affect these guns at all. It won't be as much use against pendev shells, but then again, it's very hard to stop a pendev shell using, well, pretty much any means if the shell is big enough and has high enough armor piercing. Now, of course, there are some trade-offs for sporting such a hat. I definitely considered this, but didn't get around to completely evaluating it. One of them is a somewhat greater risk for misfires. We did see a couple in the battles the Handaki fought. Now, the Handaki is capable of firing through the hat due to barrel clipping. Barrels collide only as if the barrel itself were pointing straight forward. The collision will turn with the turret, but when the barrel aims, there's no change in the collision. So if I switch the barrels here, and hopefully I can get to aim up properly. Let's see. You can see that they're clearly clipping through the hat, and I can even fire them here. And the shells have gone through the barrel, up through the hat with no problems at all. Now, of course, fail-safes being what they are, you probably are going to see misfires from time to time, but this hat is not going to severely restrict the arc of fire of these guns. Let's see. Other possible disadvantages. It does contribute to the Handaki's high profile. This is a pretty high silhouette for a ship, which means it is going to be perhaps taking hits that a ship with a lower freeboard might have. If a shell skips on the water in front of the Handaki, it's more likely to hit the Handaki rather than sailing harmlessly overhead. And it may hit the hat. Let's see, what else? Yeah, I mean, but it is definitely a thing worth considering. Now, hopefully in future tournaments the explosion rules will be changed so that traditional armored turrets are a viable thing. But until then, this type of armored hat is a strategy that's definitely worth considering. That's about all I've got to say. Very innovative and awesome design, Menti. Best of luck in the rest of the tournament, and I'll see you all next time.